Say, man, for those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what this is. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. See, we gonna get to the other stuff in a minute. But first, see, what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. So, around here, before we do anything else, bye. To give a fuck about the darkness. Hey, say, man, if at any point on our journey together you feel yourself being engulfed by darkness, allow me to be your beacon. If at any point on this trip you feel like you can't find your smile, I'm trying to be the smile on your face. Would you let me? Pardon me. Yeah. I say it's about that time for you to just open up your ear and let me crawl into your mind. One time. You know what my daddy said? He said, "What you said?" He said, "Boy, you can scratch your ass and get glad." And my nana, she used to say, "Boy, you can get glad in them same bridges that you got mad in." Both Geminis. You better smile. What it was, y'all. Y'all should know who it is. If not, here I go. I'm that too. And y'all tuned in with priceless knowledge yourself. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight, man. And I hope everybody doing good. I hope everybody done caught the right vibe. Cause it's time to get back to some real shit, man. You know, it's time to plunge back into that darkness. Cause this right here, this a little something about those people that have their black moon Lilith in the second house of their natal chart. Yeah, you see, before we actually go there, what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about the black moon Lilith. I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about the energy that comes on with it, that mythology behind it, and how it might affect you. Then after that, I'm gonna give y'all a quick breakdown of what the second house of the astrological chart is actually all about. Then after that, we're gonna bring it to a climax, which, fortunately for y'all, that's actually what I do best. So, without wasting any more time, let's get started. So, first of all, Lilith, man. Lilith is really the oldest story ever told, okay? And it comes to us from Judaic or Jewish mythology. You see, Lilith was the first woman ever created. That's right, not Eve, Lilith. Lilith and Adam were created at the same time, equally by the Creator. That's another thing that's to remember. Okay. And so all was good with that, and everything was good in the hood till it came time to consummate that relationship, till it came time to get nasty. And that was all right until Adam said, Lilith, lay down so I may lay on top of you. And see, as I said a few seconds ago, this ain't Eve. And the thing about Lilith is she ain't submissive. She said, nah, you lay down so I may lay on top of you. And we know Mr. Adam wasn't having that. So they got into it. There became a great calamity, and the angel of the Lord came down to sort it out. In doing so, he immediately sided with Adam. Lilith felt dejected, disrespected, so she dipped out. And she dipped out to become many different things in many different mythologies. Some would say that she's a demon that steals babies. Some would say that she's a seductress of men to their demise. Some would say that she's Satan's consort. Some would say that she's the mother of all demons. But I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I'm going to tell you straight up. That was made by some scared, weak little men. Okay, because what Lilith is strong, independent, sexy, feminine energy. Does it have to, and it's rebellious too. Does it have to be manipulative? Yeah, it does. It doesn't have brute force to work with. Okay. But does that mean bad? No. Mm-mm. It's the epitome of strength, actually. And so now when we go back to our story, we're talking about Adam. Okay. Well, Adam hurt, Adam lonely. They done took away his chance. His hormones are now raging. He done caught us into them pheromones and he's sick. And so what happens is the Creator puts him into a stupor, takes one of his ribs and creates Eve, who is of Adam, made for Adam. So is that all women? No, that's Eve. So there's several manifestations of femininity. Understand that. And for you to even think that femininity has anything to do with being female or masculinity has anything to do with being male would be fickle. Understand that also. So that has to do with that. So when we're talking about astrology, in each person's chart, there's going to be an indicator of dark karma. And this is kind of where Lilith becomes a factor. And like the nose, this ain't an actual celestial body, but instead it represents a certain point or an aberration in the chart. Okay. And this point or aberration, it helps to understand where certain provocations, certain temptations, turn-ons, fears, and trials really might await a person. And it can represent the darker or shadow side of our personality, as well as the type of energy that could really well put us into great states of trepidation. And it definitely manifests differently, with different people. Because you got to understand, if you look at this energy as something that's bad and negative, it's probably going to come out bad and negative. If you're not comfortable with the feminine side of your personality, then you're probably going to have a hard time with this, player. That's just being real. But when you become evolved and you realize that, like I said, there's nothing weak about femininity. And femininity has nothing to do with your gender anyway. That's some earth shit. And we're not concerned about earth shit around here. We're concerned with the soul. You feel me? You got to understand that. And another thing to understand is that if you're looking at, shadow aspects or darker energy as something that's negative or bad, that's foolish too. Don't you realize that it's the shadow aspects of yourself? It's that dark part of you that's probably got you through some of the toughest parts of your life. When you had to reach down in there and pull that grit up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Say, man, we on a journey, and I'm going to open up and I'm going to help y'all get hip to game. And another thing to understand is that there's going to be periods when the black moon Lilith is a lot more strong, and that's in years of multiples of 9. And I'm not talking about 1909, 1918, 1927, 1936. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is years of multiples of 9 since your birth, because that's how long Lilith takes to traverse the whole zodiac and come back to the place where she was. Okay. And when you're having that Lilith returns, a lot of people would say that's a time where a lot of fateful events might be occurring, and that'll start like maybe 5 months before, 5 months after. And some will say it's a period of reckoning where you might have to look yourself in the mirror and deal with a whole bunch of your bullshit. But I also want y'all to understand it like this, people. Uh-oh. I done broke something. I also need y'all to understand the fact that, my bad, y'all, my little pen broke, but I also want y'all to understand that I'm not here for predictions, okay? I'm here for character development and personality traits. So never forget that, okay? If you want to go for predictions, like, you gotta holler at somebody else, man. You feel me? But, yeah. So when we're talking about the second house of the astrological chart, the second house is ruled by Venus and it's ruled by Taurus, and it kind of symbolizes what the self has to work with materially in this life. And our possessions, our money, our physical resources, all of this can be found here in the second house, man. It can also represent our desires and our values, and planets placed here operate in the field of material needs and also indicate what we value most. Okay. So, yeah. So it can definitely speak to our money, which is usually what it's going to be talking about when we're dealing with this type of energy. Yeah. And so when we're talking about putting the black moon Lilith in the second house, well, when we're talking about this one, man, let me just say straight up that, it's probably going to unearth a lot of issues that might be centered around self-esteem and the value system and things that support our existence in this physical world, man. And the thing is, people with this placement, they really value freedom and independence and dignity so much that, the desire to become financially successful at any cost. And I mean that any cost, it kind of becomes key here, man. And that's the thing with that, man. And, they also have this desire for power that, can only be satisfied by money. And not only that, stability is probably another one of their main priorities in life, which is another thing that can usually only be established and maintained by what? You guessed it. Money. Some would call it the root of all evil, but it's not. That meow is the root of all evil. But look, man, if you look deeper into it, man, my guess is that if you take the time to really assess it, these folks right here, their sense of worth was probably deeply affected by some painful experiences and probably trauma that they had to go through when they were younger. So a lot of them probably have pretty low self-confidence. And a lot of time it's so much so that they can feel like they're worth less than other people, which, is probably a really horrible feeling. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that I've ever felt myself. So this is something I really can't relate to. And my intuition and empathy can usually put me in somebody's place, but I don't think my value system personally would allow me to feel less than anybody else. And I mean, that has to be something that's pretty bad, man. Maybe they got picked on a lot as kids. Maybe they felt that, they were taken advantage of, or they felt like they were just being denied the very right to exist a lot of the times, man. Whatever happened, it manifested in this nasty feeling that they weren't good enough. And so, yeah. And, a second house Lilith can also indicate that they had to experience losses that really, deeply affected their sense of security. And so, a lot of them, a lot of them, ended up being real possessive because of that, man. And that alone, man. And it's like they developed this deep belief that, power lies in possession. And so they want to own and acquire because they feel like getting the material things they want might bring them a sense of peace that they've never been able to see before. So the marquee of this placement really is just an insatiable drive to create wealth. Okay. And some would say that's not a bad thing, but, I can't judge either way, but I'm telling you, yeah, greed is definitely the flavor here because second house Lilith people tend to believe that money is power, which, is definitely one of their main priorities. Oh, and you could definitely add stinginess as a little side dish because most of them ain't finna share a dirty red cent with your ass either. Not without charging interest anyway. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense with no Lilith perv, if you're dealing with a person with Lilith in the second house, pardon me. And besides all that, let's not forget that, the second house tells a lot about our values as well. So placing the black moon here, it kind of indicates that integrity and authenticity and freedom, they really mean quite a lot to these people, man. So these are definitely the people who are not going to respond kindly at all to any attempts to control them or box them in. Hell, if anything, these motherfuckers here want to be in control themselves, man, which they ain't above paying to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, for them, money is power. If they're able to have that gualo, you know what I'm saying? They're able to be the puppet master. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing, man. It is power. And not only that, there can also be a deep-seated fear of not being appreciated or not getting paid fairly for their services rendered or goods sold or contracts struck with this. Okay. So they be tripping. There could be some underhanded business techniques going on with this one, man. So, bottom line, these people's relationships right here with money is definitely going to take on some interesting things with this placement. Finances are always going to be real crucial to them. And, sometimes to the point where they're probably going to have to make some sacrifices, whether it be in reputation, whether it be in dignity, ego, or even morality, for the sake of that almighty dollar, man. Real talk. Or sometimes it might even just be as simple as someone who's just keenly interested, in financial matters. And, that makes them get into some underhanded business. Or it could be somebody that's just intensely frugal because they're deathly afraid of losing it all. So they're stingy as hell. And it makes them feel a certain type of way to even be like that because they resent themselves a little bit for knowing that that's inside of them. So I'd have to say that the sign placement and the aspects will definitely tell a lot more of the story with this one. And let me also say on another note, that second house Lilith people are some of the absolute most sensual people that there are too. And they really deeply appreciate all earthly pleasures and the finer things in life. This is refined taste right here. This is fine art and high fashion, man. This is somebody usually with an extremely sexy voice and maybe even, oral talent and fixations. These are provocative productionists. This right here, it can be hedonism personified, man, which on its own might not seem too bad. But, with Lilith coming into play, there comes a tendency to be too self-indulgent, too much sex, too much good drink, too much smoking, too much delicious delicacies. And once they start, they want it all, baby. They want it all. It ain't no stopping. It ain't gonna be no stopping, man. When they start getting it in, it's like, man, the universe applies that pressure to them and they can just get lost in soothing themselves. It's crazy, man. Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. These are some sexy motherfuckers right here. They really are, man. And they be knowing it too. They be knowing it. They be knowing it, man. And having a second house Lilith can definitely suggest individuals who aren't above using sex or the promise of it and seductive power for material gains. And hey, I ain't hating on it. I definitely ain't hating on it at all. And lastly, let me say that in their personal relationships, they can really tend to, treat people like they own them, which that ain't cool. And not only that, they could also find themselves involved in a lot of flings because a lot of them put sexual pleasure, way above the commitment. But the rest of the chart will probably tell a lot more have to do with that, okay? And either way, just because you built like that, you don't have to build like that. That's the cruciality of it. We all have all this energy available to us. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it ain't about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's a priceless knowledge in itself. And there's been some priceless knowledge of self. Hey, If y'all fuck with me on any level, man, y'all need to be hitting that like button right now. Y'all need to be sharing this motherfucker. You need to be subscribing, okay? Hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I drop some new stuff, man. Yeah. And you better smile. Hey, if you're interested in astrological readings whatsoever, you can either hit me up in the comments below or email me at mr.turner1300@gmail.com. Okay? Okay? Hey, if y'all want to donate to the cause, you can see the link in the description below. I'm going to tell y'all now. After I finish this series next week, I'm going on vacation for a week. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna hit the beach for a week or two. When I get back, we going harder than we ever been. We going live at least twice a week. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put the super chats up. I'm going to let you, we going to talk. We're going to answer questions. You know what I'm saying? I got my podcast that I'm about to drop within the month. Okay? Like, it's going down. It's going down when I get back. So y'all, this is the calm before the storm. I'll teach you a little bit how to get to the money. Then after that, we get in there like swimwear. Y'all keep it true till we be back again.